Welcome to the Astro Guy podcast. I'm not an expert, I'm an amateur like you. I'm here to learn and here to teach. So let's enjoy the ride together. Carpe Noctem, seize the night.
I'm your host, Wayne Zool, and this is the Astro Guy podcast. Happy New Year! I do hope that you enjoyed your holidays. Well, here we are after a jam-packed 2022, looking ahead to a very exciting 2023. There's going to be a lot going on this year, astronomically speaking. We've got the ever-changing parade of planets in the skies, meteor showers, eclipses, including a total eclipse for parts of the world, and an annular eclipse that will be visible in the United States. There are also two partial lunar eclipses this year, although they won't be that great. In the U.S., we'll miss out on those pretty much. But there are also two comets that are currently visible in small telescopes, but one of them is predicted to be a naked-eye comet. This month we won't explore any particular constellations. Next month, however, we'll highlight some of the best deep sky objects that can be seen in the winter skies. Every quarter going forward, we'll highlight the best deep sky objects of the season and how to find them. We'll also highlight some of the best star parties and astronomical gatherings that will be happening this year. So let's get to it. There's a lot to cover. January starts off with the planet Uranus being occulted by the moon on the 1st. Unfortunately, this will only be visible to people well in the north. The greyish line is in Scotland, so anything south of there will be a near miss. Folks in the UK and Europe have the best shot to see this. The quadrantid meteor shower occurs on the night of the 4th going into the 5th. This shower is usually a good performer, but the nearly full moon will interfere with all but the brightest quadrantids this year. Venus dominates early evening skies as the year begins, as Saturn and Jupiter begin to move closer to the horizon each evening. Mars is still putting on a nice show for most of the night, but it's slowly shrinking as it goes from around 14 arcseconds in diameter down to about 10 arcseconds. The big highlight for January will be comet ZTF E3, which could reach naked eye brightness by the end of January. Located near the circlet of Pisces, this comet has been brightening, but you'll need a good eastern horizon to see it, as it will be above the horizon in the hours before sunrise. Likely, this will become an easy target in binoculars and small telescopes. While it may reach magnitude 5, it should be relatively easy to locate under very dark skies without any optical aid. Comets, however, are unpredictable, so it could fizzle, or it could even brighten beyond predictions. So keep your eyes on it. February mornings continue to be good to see comet ZTF. Not to confuse you or me, there are two nice comets this year that are named ZTF. The name stands for the Zwicky Transit Facility, which uses the 48-inch Schmidt camera on Mount Palomar to do its survey, and discovered these comets. The other ZTF comet is V2, and we'll learn about it in the coming months. On February 15th, Venus and Neptune will be separated by about half a degree. This will be hard to see because Neptune is so much fainter than Venus, but in a telescope you should be able to spot the pair. On February 27th, Jupiter and Venus are separated by just over 2 degrees. They will continue to be near each other until March 1st, when they'll only be half a degree apart. This will be stunning. You'll need a decent western horizon to catch this early evening show at the end of February going into March. Saturn is lost in the glow of the sun and will reemerge in the morning skies in a few months. Uranus is well placed on February evenings, but it too is starting to descend toward the western horizon. Catch it now, as it will be lost in the glare of the sun for most of the spring. March opens with Venus and Jupiter sharing space in the evening skies. The pair will be a beautiful sight from the 1st through the 5th, after which Jupiter will sink lower each night before disappearing into the glare of the sun for several months. On March 20th, the sun will be at the vernal equinox, meaning that it will cross the celestial equator as it heads towards the summer solstice. This is the start of astronomical spring, and it is the unofficial start of galaxy season for many astronomers, as galaxies are prevalent in the springtime night skies. On March 21st, Ceres, the first asteroid that was discovered, is at opposition, meaning that it will be opposite the sun from our vantage point, and it will be its brightest, about 7th magnitude, so it should be easy to spot in binoculars. Before sunset on the 24th, look for the 3.4-day-old crescent moon. Can you spot brilliant Venus about 4.5 degrees from the moon? Binoculars will help you spot it. By sunset, they'll be separated by more than 5 degrees, but it will be a stunning sight regardless. On the 27th, Mercury will be just over a degree away from Jupiter. The pair will be low in the west after sunset. Mars is dimming in the evening skies, and on the 30th, it will skirt by the open cluster M35 in Gemini, where it will be just over 1 degree away from the cluster. This should be an interesting sight in binoculars or a telescope at low power. On March 30th, Uranus will be about 1 degree away from Venus after sunset. Try to spot the pair with binoculars or a telescope at low power. Venus gets in on a lot of action during April evenings this year. On April 9th through the 12th, you can watch as Venus slips past M45, the open cluster known as the Pleiades in Taurus. This will be quite the sight in binoculars. Around the same time during April, Mercury will be visible low on the western horizon. As darkness falls on the 21st, the Lyrid meteor shower will be reaching its peak. At around 10 p.m., look to the northeast to try to catch these meteors. While this is not a great shower, its zenith hourly rate is only 18 meteors per hour. The moon won't be interfering, so it's worth trying to spot them. May is relatively quiet as far as planetary observing goes. Only Venus and Mars are still well on display, and Mars is fading quickly. Near the end of May, Mars is nearing the open cluster M44. Try to spot them together in the evening, low in the west. Venus dominates the western sky in May, and it is a treat to watch each evening. The moon skirts past Venus on the 22nd and 23rd, and by the end of the month, Venus will look like a quarter moon in a telescope as it reaches its 50% phase. Like May, Venus and Mars are still putting on a show in the western skies after sunset, although Mars is fading each day. On the 1st and 2nd of June, you can see the red planet passing in front of the open cluster M44. This too will be a gorgeous sight in binoculars or a telescope, but you'll need to catch it as the sky starts darkening, as the pair will be very low in the west. Venus reaches its greatest elongation from the Sun on June 4th. June holds some very interesting events relating to the Sun. On the 17th, you can experience the earliest sunrise of the year. On the 21st, summer begins in the northern hemisphere, and on the 25th of June, we have the latest sunset of the year. July is a good time to start looking for comet ZTF V2. It will be visible in the morning in Pisces and should be around magnitude 9.5. The comet is expected to be at its peak in September, but it is not predicted to reach naked eye brightness. It should top out at around magnitude 8.5, which will make it easy to spot in binoculars or a small telescope. Venus starts off July in the west at sunset, but by month's end, the planet will be lost in the glow of the sun. Try to catch it in July, as Venus will appear as a thin crescent when viewed through a telescope. The planets that have been lost in the glow of the sun for several months are finally returning to the morning skies. The gas giants, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, are all visible in the pre-dawn skies. They will get better each morning as they move towards their oppositions. Mars is still visible in the evenings, although it is low in the west, near Venus. Catch it early in the month, as it's setting earlier and earlier each evening. Later in August, you can spot Venus low in the eastern skies before sunrise. The gas giants are the show-stopping planets in August, although the best views of them will come late in the evening and after midnight. Saturn reaches opposition on August 27th, and the ring planet will have close approaches to the Moon on August 2nd, 3rd, and the 30th. The famous Perseid meteor shower peaks on August 13th, and under pristine conditions, you could spot as many as 100 meteors per hour. The Moon will be a waning crescent, so it won't rise until a little before sunup, giving observers their best shot at seeing these fast meteors. The best views will come after midnight, and the activity is usually high in the days before and after the peak. September offers a good chance to spot Mercury low in the east before sunrise. It will be at greatest elongation on September 22nd. The planet rises nearly 2 hours before the Sun, so this will be a great time to try to catch Mercury, which can be elusive. Venus is ruling the morning skies now and is very bright all month long. Neptune reaches opposition on September 20th and will be up all night. The Sun crosses the equator, heading south on September 23rd, indicating the start of astronomical autumn in the northern hemisphere and astronomical spring in the southern hemisphere. On the morning of October 1st, you can spot the Moon near Jupiter. Observers along a path from Brazil to Oregon on Saturday, October 14th, will be able to witness an annular eclipse. More on this shortly. On October 24th, Venus will be at its greatest western elongation, nearly 45 degrees away from the Sun. This is a great time to see it. The gas giants are all well placed as the evening goes on. Enjoy them. October 21st, going into the 22nd, sees the Orionid meteor shower reach its peak. Orionids are bright and very fast-moving meteors. Under excellent conditions, you can expect to see about 20 meteors per hour. An interesting note about the Orionids is that they originated from a close pass of Halley's Comet with the Earth many, many years ago. Most of Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia will experience a partial lunar eclipse on October 28th. On the 3rd of November, Jupiter will be at opposition. It will be its brightest for the year and will be up all night. 10 days later, on the 13th, Uranus will be at opposition. November 18th will be the peak of the Leonid meteor shower. Best viewed after midnight, this shower is known for occasional outbursts. The Moon won't interfere with the shower this year, so it's worth trying to see them if it's going to be clear. Venus is still putting on a great show before sunrise in the east. Saturn and Neptune will be well placed for evening observing in November. December's highlights include the Moon appearing just over 3.5 degrees away from Venus on the morning of December 9th. Jupiter is still well placed on December evenings, and the Moon is nearby it on December 21st and 22nd. Saturn is well placed early on in the month, but sets earlier each evening. The Moon is nearby Saturn on the 17th of December. Uranus is well placed December evenings, while Neptune gets lost in the twilight by the end of the year. The Geminids are the final major meteor shower of the year. The shower peaks on the 14th, and the Moon won't be an issue this year. The best views of the Geminids should occur after 10 p.m. Let's now take a quick look at the solar and lunar eclipses that will take place in 2023. 2023 has a total of 4 eclipses that will take place. 2 solar eclipses, including one that is total on April 20th, and an annular eclipse on October 14th. I have to state this: never look at the sun without using proper protection. Always use approved solar filters. Don't ever look at the sun without proper protection. The total solar eclipse on April 20th will be visible mostly over water, but folks in parts of Western Australia and New Zealand could experience up to 1 minute and 17 seconds of totality if they're at the midpoint of the eclipse. On October 14th, an annular eclipse will take place on a path from Oregon to Texas. The path of annularity will go over the Yucatan Peninsula, parts of Central America, and then into Colombia and finally Brazil. Observers within the path of annularity will see a ring of fire around the moon when it passes in front of the sun. However, the moon will appear smaller than the sun, so it won't get dark like during a total solar eclipse. But you should notice that the light seems thin, and you'll notice some very interesting shadows on the ground. For exact timings, visit timeanddate.com. There are also 2 partial lunar eclipses in 2023. On May 5th and 6th, observers in Europe, Asia, Australia, and Antarctica might be able to spot the partial penumbral eclipse of the moon. The penumbral phase of a lunar eclipse is very difficult to detect, so this won't be a great event. The partial lunar eclipse on October 28th and 29th will be well timed for observers around the world, except for those in North and South America, where they will only see a partial penumbral eclipse, and that's just in the northeastern part of the Americas. For areas where the umbral shadow will be seen, they should experience some slight limb darkening on the moon, as the darkest part of the shadow will cover a small part of the moon. So 2023 is a pretty good year for solar eclipses, but not so great for lunar eclipses. The last events that we'll talk about in this episode are some of the major star parties and astro gatherings that will be occurring in the U.S. in 2023. This is only a partial list and highlights the biggest and most famous events. The first big astro event of the year is the famous Winter Star Party. This year's event runs from February 13th through the 19th and takes place in the Florida Keys. This is primarily an observing event that offers views into the southern skies while being able to enjoy them in the warm Florida weather. Visit scas.org for more information. The largest vendor event of the year takes place April 15th and 16th at the Northeast Astronomy Forum, often referred to as NEAF for short. This event features lots of vendors showing their newest gear, a packed schedule of excellent speakers, a solar star party, and much, much more. The event takes place at Rockland Community College in Suffern, New York. Visit rocklandastronomy.com for more information. International Astronomy Day is Saturday, April 29th this year. Astronomy clubs around the world will be hosting all kinds of events. Check your local clubs for information. The next 2 events are geared toward observers and imagers that want to spend several nights under some of the darkest skies in the continental U.S. The week-long Texas Star Party runs from May 14th through the 21st and takes place at the Prude Ranch near Fort Davis, Texas. There's camping, a bunkhouse, and off-site facilities are available as well, but you want to book early. Visit texasstarparty.org to learn more. The Cherry Springs Star Party takes place this year on June 15th through the 18th. Regarded as one of the darkest observing sites that is easy to get to in North America, this is a great event to attend in Coudersport, Pennsylvania. Just Google Cherry Springs Star Party for more information. The Astronomical League will hold their annual convention in New Orleans, Louisiana this year. The event runs from July 26th through the 29th. Visit alcon2023.org for more information. The granddaddy of all astronomy gatherings takes place on August 17th through the 20th in Springfield, Vermont. I'm referring to the annual Stellophane Convention. If you're a telescope maker or have an interest in telescope making, you must attend Stellophane at some point. While the skies are still very good, they're not what they once were, but it is still an event worth attending. In an upcoming episode, we're going to devote an entire episode to the Stellophane Convention and its history. visit stellafane.org for all the information on this event. There are many other events that take place throughout the year. You can find a complete list of them at skyandtelescope.org. Well, that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, I hope that you found our time together to be fun and helpful. If you have questions or episode suggestions, please email us at astroguypodcast@gmail.com or leave us a text or a voicemail at 973-404-0380. If you're not already a member, please join the Astro Guy podcast group on Facebook. You'll find other members, videos, blogs, and other useful information there for your enjoyment. You can also visit our YouTube channel, the Astro Guy Podcast, for past episodes and other surprises. Please subscribe. Please consider leaving us a review on your podcast platform. It helps us get new listeners. Thank you again for listening, and may your skies be clear. As always, carpe noctem, seize the night.
I'm Wayne Zool, and this was the Astro Guy Podcast. Thank you for listening. As always, your questions, comments, and suggestions are welcome. Keep wondering. Keep your eyes on the sky. Have fun. Carpe noctem. Seize the night.